Yeah, I have just a basic thought slash question about the part from
Fatima.
on the crisis and modern and post-modern crisis. Yeah, I was thinking that the term modern and postmodern might be incorrect. But I think in this model, when we're talking about the quickly resolved crisis, one way that I think would be interesting to look at is that the resolution of the crisis is always mostly for powerful. And when you're talking about the oppressed, they are more generally always living in a state of permanent crisis. And then for me, one example that I'm thinking about, for example, slavery in America, where you can have a model of for who was the Civil War really like this short crisis that was resolved? Well, more for the rulers and people with actual power, and for the oppressed, it was part of a continual crisis that seems today. And I don't mean this specific example because I don't want to claim to be an expert in it either, but I think in general when we're talking about the model of short crisis versus permanent crisis, the concept of it being not just something new in history, but something that for perhaps some groups is new, but for others has been a more continual part of the experience. I don't know what you think of it.
Thank you for the question. Perhaps it's true that the disjunction between modernity and postmodernity isn't able to cover the entire problems of different type of crises. On the other side, perhaps the question is not only what is the difference, or how can we define exact the turn from modern to postmodern, but it is, according to your remark, a big question too, how can we define the rise of modernity, and which are the main characteristics through which we can do it. So if you bring the idea with slavery, I think perhaps a little bit brutal, there are no persons, there were no persons in the term of persons as a modern term, yes? And slavery, it wasn't a crisis. It was a normal solution of different economical problems. Now actually, according to our value system, of course, we can no more accept slavery, although not in the own family. Yes, I am married. Yeah. So, but in that time, I think it is a really other type of social organization, and so crisis is not to apply for this time.
Yeah, contribute. I would say that it's not the crises that are really different, but the way that you perceive them and the way you address them. In the modernity, you look at the crisis and you are able to identify one sole cause. So it's caused by one social or economic evil. For instance, the existence of private property. And then what they have to do, and then we have the grand narratives. What they have to do is to abolish property and everything will be okay. So that would be the recipe that is put forward in the modernity, sorry. And in postmodernity, we look at the crisis, and in fact it's the same type of crisis, but we identify several routes. And that's why we don't have one only recipe for it. Then we have fragmented utopias or fragmented strategies to solve the crisis. And I believe that in this way you would be able to understand a bit better this difference, the change from modernity to post-modernity. It has to do the way you address the problem, that you address the crisis. I don't know if you agree.
Thank you.
Yes.
You spoke about the suggestion that a utopian writer should have the capacity to think differently. I really like that thought. Does this automatically and ironically eliminate the rights to live in a utopian society? Because the society is carefully planned and would be disturbed by the creative characters of these creative thinkers. So I'm very interested in
Yeah.
thinking about that.
Thank you for that question. In fact, nowadays in utopian studies, when we discussed this this morning. We do not aspire to live in utopia, okay? And we work with the concept of critical utopias. That is, societies which are better than the ones that we live, and that's good because we want to change society, but which have flaws. We want societies to have flaws because that will be the only way of allowing, leaving space for creativity and change. And of course, there's always this problem which was raised by Karl Popper back in the 40s, and which, in fact, led a lot of people to believe that utopia would not be acceptable. The fact that sometimes you want a revolution, you create a totally different society, but not everyone enjoys that society, and so there's always also the problem with the next generations that may not really subscribe to the solution. So what we are investing today in utopian studies, and Paolo Spinosi, we have been working together in the field. So nowadays we don't work within this idea, this modernist idea, this idea of the modernity, that there is one solution and that we are looking for the answer, the final answer. Now we recognize different roots, different problems, we address the different problems, and we want society to be much better, but we don't want to solve all the problems, because in that way there will always be space for creativity, and that's why the concept we work with nowadays is the concept of dynamic utopianism. We want it to always to improve. Thank you.
If I may add
Sure.
something, yes, we were working in sync because we're talking about critical utopia. She's a member of my seminar.
She's at the new
We were
seminar.
exploring the concept of critical utopia in sync. And I would like to add something about what you said, that the question is not what is it that I want for our society, and the question is instead what is it that we want for our society. And this is a very good question, which is again ambivalent, or I would say more than ambivalent. It's multi-layered because it's tricky. Even if you say what is it that we want for our society, what we were raising, we cannot say what is it that we want. Again, it keeps eluding us. It's a good question, and it keeps eluding us. And I think that this morning we have discussed a lot about how some of the major strengths of utopia and critical utopia and utopian thinking are also its major flaws and its major weaknesses, and they play both sides, constantly both sides, and constructively and destructively and constructively. So it's the dynamics, as you were saying. I agree completely.
Thank you for your excellent lecture.
Thank you for your...
Yeah, it was great. So, my question would be concerned to the possibility to be agent concerning utopia. My question is, what do you mean? People have utopias, or utopias have people? And behind of my question is is the huge amount of prophets, grand and small prophets of the Tanakh, of the Jewish Bible. Yes? And in all cases, and in every cases of these prophets, they don't want it to have, tell or share utopias. God was the main actor.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
And what is the case in our time, or in the time of Morus?
I believe that you were talking about religious utopias, because they have, you're talking about...
Only religious utopias.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, of course they are not. What I was thinking, instead of addressing the topics that I addressed today, my first thought was of addressing contemporary utopia I've been working on. I've just started and we discussed it. It's the utopia of the basic income, universal basic income. This idea that in 10 years there will be no jobs, and unless young people are given a basic income, well, we don't know what is going to happen. So now we are working on that. And so I'd say my main interest is in social utopias, in political utopias, where we decide. So I'd say that it's the utopia. Nowadays, basic income is a utopia, and there are many people working on it, but it was defined as utopia by the people who are now working on it. So it's because many people said, well, it would be wonderful if we could have, if we could give a basic income so that everyone would be able to live, at least more than survive, I would say, to live a relatively good life. So I'd say that it is people who make utopias. And then, of course, then you have the religious utopias, and then you have this idea that the utopia of the Christianity. Now we are dealing with the problem of other religious utopias, and I would say that then we have followers. But I have to confess that I'm interested in social, political utopias, economic utopias, whatever, only.
And look,
yeah, sure.
Look, market economy. It is an utopia.
No, of course, it's an ideology. No, it's ideology. So it's the difference between utopia subverts ideology. From my point of view, it's Ricoeur, so I'm working with concepts from Ricoeur.
Ricoeur, okay. If Ricoeur, then clear.
Okay. So what I wanted to point out is that it's not my idea, so I'm not that intelligent. So Ricoeur, utopia, a subverting ideology, is idea. Yeah, that's all. Mm-hmm.
Perhaps once a utopian idea, and perhaps now becoming more and more
Totally different, yeah.
So where perhaps now we're also living Facebook, living the downsides of Facebook. So where
there's a line.
transformations take place
Mm-hmm.
from subversion to this ideology.
I would say that the utopias are very dangerous. I love utopias and I've been studying all my life. I've been studying them all my life, but they are very dangerous. We also discussed this morning. Hitler had a utopia. Okay, and so the problem is that many utopias, when they are fulfilled, when they get realized, it is true that they are dystopian. They have this dystopian side. And that's the way, that's the point where we have to creatively think of other utopias. So we never stop. Okay, so perhaps it's resorting to the metaphor that I started with. We take 10 steps, and we thought, well, having a community of people, exchanging ideas and so on is wonderful. And then we stop after 10 steps. And we say, well, this is not what I want. Okay, but we have time because we stopped, because we don't have that plan that we have to fulfill. Okay, you can stop and say, well, no, this is not the direction I want to take. I will go elsewhere. Of course it is. Utopia is really demanding, like neoliberalism, which was a utopia. It was once a utopia. And now we want to change. Most of us, at least. Okay.
So you mentioned social utopia, and Now in Switzerland, even unpaid people receive minimum wage.
I know that, yeah.
Then you consider Switzerland utopia?
No, because I didn't understand what he said. Switzerland rejected, what did he say?
Switzerland now gives minimum wage to unemployed people.
No, it doesn't. They refused. Switzerland refused basic income. That's a problem. It was not approved by 70% of the population. It was not, but we have basic income. I didn't know, I'm very sorry.
I think he refers to unemployed people.
Yes. Oh, unemployed people. Okay. Because the idea of, oh, sorry, I didn't. Yeah, because the basic income is different. It is given to anyone, and this is something that people do not understand. Is that, for instance, I'm working, I will be entitled to having that income on top of what I'm making. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, but the question was
that now then utopia arrives in Switzerland.
That if it has been fulfilled, is that? I don't understand. I'm sorry, but I'm getting old. I cannot understand you what you say.
They receive enough money to leave even though they're not working.
But is that the case in Switzerland?
Yes.
I mean, because you only refer to unemployed people, so it's the same in France. Unemployed people get minimum wages,
Yeah.
but it's not basic income is. It's something different. Well, to draw a bridge, because I think that...
Thank you, because I cannot hear what you say.
Perhaps I can make a bridge, draw a bridge, because in France, we've had our presidential elections,
Yeah.
and one of the candidates had this basic income as part of his program. That was Benoit Hamon, and it was dismissed as completely utopian, and in the end he only got 6%. So that was a socialist program, okay, and it was dismissed. And so, as if, well, it's a great idea, I think, but as it is labelled as utopian, that is to say not realistic, it is, who wouldn't like to have a basic income?
No, but in fact, there are many people who believe it to be realistic.
Yeah. So I think what in France it was it received 6%. That's ideal, okay? And so I don't know well about Switzerland, but in France we've got the unemployment minimum wages, but it's something different. It's not the same.
But the idea of the idea of basic income is to solve the problem that we will have to face within 10, 20 years, because then there will be no jobs. One thing is now we say, well, we don't have jobs, and then some people do not have jobs, and then we give them, some sort of funding, to make it for a living, so that they can make a living. The problem is that with development of technology, in 10, 20 years, there will be no jobs for anyone, or at least for many young qualified people. And so what can we do? We have artists, we have not only artists, but we know that people working, with computers and so on, they will always have a job, of course, because that will be the future. But what about the people in humanities? What about the people doing film studies, music, and so on? So perhaps the solution will be to provide them with a basic income, so that, and this is my completely utopian vision of it, and my vision is that if people are given the basic income, most of them, or the majority of them, will work. Because the fear is that, well, if you are given a basic income, then you will stay playing, video games all the time. I believe that most young people won't do that. If you are creative, then you will collaborate. Okay, you can work this, now we are doing at universities, what we are doing now is science with society. We are asking society to help us. So in my completely utopian vision, this is how it is going to happen. But now basic income exists already, for instance, in Macau, where everyone gets, I suppose it's something like 3,500 euros, or the equivalent to 3,500 euros a year. per year, and you don't have to be 18 or plus. So every family, every member of the families, each member of family is entitled to that income. And now, of course, they've got that money because of the taxes on game, you know, the casinos and so on. But there are other options that we have to explore. One of the options that is being explored in Finland now is, for instance, growing vegetables and so on in wastelands and in common lands, you know, in the common land that is in parks, for instance. So trying to, you know, asking people to collaborate and getting money out of it, making money out of it. So it's for sure it is a utopia now, but it is a way out, a way of solving a problem that we will have to face in 20 years. So it will not be your generation that will have to pay it, hopefully, but your children will have to face it. Sure.
Sorry, add something. This morning we were discussing, I would say, an ontological issue. So because the point is whether human beings are intrinsically, ontologically inclined to work anyway or not. That is the big question. So basic needs, basic income raises that question. Whether we would work or not, because one of the main contentions is that if we give money no matter what, then most people won't work, won't have the motivation to work, and the opposite attitude is that human beings will work and will do what they are inclined to do, what they choose to do anyway. Right? So this is what we are.
You're right. The idea is, you're right. So the idea is that is work an ontological category, or is work an invention? And if we look back, you know, to our past, we see that work is as a necessity, you know, has been invented, because the Greeks, they didn't like work. I'm very sorry, I just want I will stop.
Dear colleagues, I'm very sorry to announce that it would be utopistic to believe that we can stay in this room forever.
No.
We cannot. We need to lock up by 6:30, which means that we need to be approaching the conclusion of this excellent and scholarly event. I would like to thank our chair and our three excellent presenters and your patience and scholarly attention.
Thank you
very much indeed.
Thank you for staying.